Welcome to another Kings of War battle report. Sylvan Kin versus Dwarves, 2,000 points. The scenario was pillage. Okay, I'm known as a man of many armies, and this is my dwarf army. Normally I use it for new players because it doesn't take a whole lot of thought to play, and so that's why I usually hardly ever play it. But Greg was changing to a new army that he'd never played, so I thought, well, what the heck, let's do the same thing. So to that end, I took a horde of shield breakers with a throwing mastiff, a horde of iron breakers with a throwing mastiff, free dwarf iron watch rifles, two regiments of rangers, one with the upgrade, a horde of earth elementals with Hans, two mastiff hunting packs, both with throwing mastiffs, Jeroen Bombard with an upgrade, a stone priest with Bane Chant, a pack master, the dwarf lord on a large beast with the blade of slashing, and ASB with loot. At the end of our Warhammer playing days, Craig and I both accumulated a wood elf army of sorts, and his army was more tree centered, and mine was more like balanced, a lot more cavalry and archers and stuff like that. But it turns out that his army ports really well over to Kings of War. So what he took was a horde of kindred archers, four regiments of hunters of the wild, two hordes of forest shamblers, one with the chant of hate and one with the brew of strength, a regiment of silver breeze cavalry, two forest wardens, one with inspiring talisman and one with the loot, a tree herder with the Wiltfather upgrade, and the blade of the beast slayer. So this is on to deployment. First thing you see down there is the Lord on large beast, and I just got the model in the mail yesterday, and so I put it together, trimmed it up, and glued it to a base. Didn't even have a chance to prime it, but I really didn't have anything else to represent him that was even close, so I went ahead and opted for the rare Atchman unpainted figure on a table. And next to him are a group of mastiffs, and they are actually Craig's snow foxes. I have some dogs that I could use for the models, but I did not want to chop them up for an army that I don't really use a lot or really at all. So I just decided to use his, and that made things a lot better. And then the next unit is my free dwarf shield breakers. They are, I'm sorry, not them, it's the ironclad, and then they are parked there. Right in between them, it's hard to see, but there is a unit of rangers, and these are the upgraded rangers with the Hernius thing, I think it is, Hermias, whatever, and they're stuck in there. And then on the side of them are the the shield breakers. I'm sorry, are the next unit that's up there. Flanking them, out to them are my earth elementals, which look a whole lot like little Skaven doom wheels, which is basically what they are. And then to the side of them, behind them actually was the iron or stone priest. I'm sorry, and behind them was the bombard up on the hill. On the far end, there's the another unit of mastiffs, and then lastly another unit of rangers. And this one is helped out by the free dwarf pack master, which is a model I've already decided that I like a lot. So that kind of rounds out this field, and I'll show you a picture from the other side of the same thing. Then over on this end of this end of the table for him, he had two units of the hunters of the wild, and then both units of shamblers. What are those guys called? I have his list. What am I looking at? Four shamblers, that's right. And behind them, the tree man and both of his other characters. And then another unit of hunters of the wild. Atop the hill was a unit of his archers, and then the Silver Breeze cavalry, and finally another unit of hunters of the wild. You can see from this end of the table what I have down here. So, but you can see that I'm pretty heavily weighted left because there's three objectives right there. In some ways I don't like this scenario because you can't throw objectives in the corners and stuff like that, but whatever. I mean, you just got to play the game as it is. And normally I put my objectives in front of me slightly because I want to walk into them as opposed to just sitting on my butt. And I had a little shooting advantage this game, not much. Most of my shooting was the one-shot mastiffs, which did a remarkable job. 15 points. They at least did a couple of wounds, which is about all you can really ask for. So down here again is my Rangers and the Pack Master defending this objective. In the middle was the Earth Elementals and the Iron Watch Rifles defending the middle, and then on the end was all my hordes trying to take that last objective down there. So as you can see, most of his armies jumped forward with their scout move. I did move my Rangers on the far end into the edge of the edge of the trees down there so that I could shoot. The everything else that scouted, I really didn't. I mean, even after I scouted them, I moved them back. There was no reason to run into all that mess with so early in the game. I'm not dedicated like my friend Craig to charging somebody on turn one. So anyway, down at the end, I unleashed a devastating volley between the Mastiffs and the Packmaster and the Rangers into his unit down there, and darn near wavered him. I mean, I had him within 1 point of being wavered, so that did a lot of damage. The cannon did nothing. Basically, it didn't do anything until like turn 4. So really disappointed with it. Kind of like the idea of it, but eh. And then did a pretty good amount of damage to his unit of Shamblers on the right from, I guess, two things of Mastiffs that I threw at it. So anyway, that's the end of my turn 1. Okay, on this end of the table, you can see that I've dumped a lot of damage. The little blue chit on top of those Mastiffs indicate that I've used my one-shot attack. So he did move down the hill with his archers, and he had that objective, and I think later, I believe he just moves back up. And his archer horde is so big, it can actually cover 2 of those stupid objectives at one time, which is end up being the ruin of me, I think. His Storm Breeze guys, Silver Breeze, whatever they are, moved down to threaten my Rangers, but I wasn't overly afraid of them, even though they shoot pretty well. So that was it there. In the middle, he just moved everything into the middle. Moved his guys into the swamp there, his Hunters of the Wild. My Iron Watch Rifles were totally useless in this game. I mean, they're useless anyway, and now when you're playing with all these with the huge swamp right in the middle of the table, they were going to be even worse useless. So look at the other end of the table. So down here, he moved his Hunters of the Wild into this large woods with the objective in it. I knew I had to go in there and get it, but I wasn't really happy about doing that. And so he just moved him in there and angled him so that the Bear Lord wouldn't charge them in the flank. Just like I expected, his Forest Shamblers and the Tree Man just moved forward in the middle really hard. And like I said, the Hunters of the Wild unit that was in the swamp up there moved forward. I literally could not hurt them. I mean, because like I said, the Iron Watch Rifles are just useless when it comes to shooting. I mean, anything that needs 5s to hit, honestly, in this game are almost a waste of points. I would rather just have like a little unit of something. Hell, even Slayers would have been better than having those stupid things on the table. Just wanted to show you this picture. That is a lot of damn trees coming toward me. The stalwart dwarves are staying there trying to hold it off, but this does not look good. Okay, so on this end of the table, I just resolved to stand still and to just try to get rid of that unit of Hunters of the Wild. I mean, I was pretty sure I could hold this flank as long as those archers didn't come forward to do something. And in the very, very middle, and I'll switch to the other view in a second, the Iron Watch Rifles, just since they can't shoot worth a damn, I just moved them forward to protect the flank of one of my units while I charged in. So I moved my units of Ironclads up to take the objective. Didn't really respect the ability of the Hunters of the Wild to do damage. I mean, they have a lot of swings, they hit pretty well, but they have no crushing, and I have armor 5. Plus, as you can see, it's just a death trap waiting for whoever charges, because either the Rangers will get them, which is the unit on the left, or the Lord on Large Beast will get them on the right. So it really had no place to go there. What I did do was move the unit of shield breakers up within 1 inch of his unit of shamblers on the right, and I dumped a bunch of shooting into them with the between the cannons and everything else to them. And what I was really trying to do is keep him from charging my unit of earth elementals in the flank. It's the same reason I moved the useless unit of Iron Watch rifles up right in front of that unit of Hunters of the Wild, just so they couldn't flank into the unit of earth elementals. And I hit him with the earth elementals. I rolled crap for him the whole game pretty much. And the worst thing is I think I've rolled no less than 4 to 5 times to get Bane Chant off during this game, and never rolled it until till the very end of the game, and it was already too late for the earth elementals. Okay, so my unit of shield breakers took it on the chin from the tree man and the unit of forest shamblers. I think he had got Bane Chant off on that unit, so it was pretty devastating attack. I think I was up. I mean, I've got 3 dice there. I can't remember exactly read what it was, but it wasn't good. But I did hold out with the ASB standing behind him, and I was going to be in a good shape with the general on the large beast to flank charge and maybe destroy one of those units. I didn't realize that his stupid boar shamblers fighting my elementals had brew of strength on them, which was not good. And so I took a few wounds from them. His unit of Hunters of the Wild did waver my hapless unit of Iron Watch riflemen. Like I said, that's a useless unit. I could have taken anything. It would have been better than them. So over here on this flank, you can see the his unit of Glade Riders, whatever they're called, moved up to threaten the cannon. They were just a smidge short of being able to charge it on the next turn. Like I say, you can see the Iron Watch guys are wavered. That's what the yellow dice indicates. Took 6 wounds, which wasn't horrible, but like I said, they're just not a good unit at all. I mean, like anything would have been better than having that regiment there. So they're probably going to not be in the next iteration of this list. They just don't do anything. So and you can see I took a few wounds from the shamblers there on my earth elementals. So anyway, the line held out this turn at least. So as you would figure, the Dwarf Lord on the large beast went ahead and destroyed the unit of 4 shamblers that were in front of the shield breakers. I did countercharge the shield breakers into the tree man to do some wounds, and I even got Bane Chant off, but I rolled just crap. I think I did 4 wounds, and I should have done double that, despite his armor 6, because I was crushing 1 instead of crushing 2, so that was hitting on 3s and wounding on 4s and just putzed out. That's all I can say about it. I did do a couple of wounds to the stupid other unit of shamblers, and the problem here was I couldn't get any I couldn't get Bane Chant off to help me get through their armor 5. And the other thing I forgot was I had the sanguinary scripture, and I should have been getting wounds back every time I caused a wound. The unit of Iron Watch just backed off, and I shot everything I could at the unit of Hunters of the Wild, and just did a couple of wounds to them. I think maybe it was the first time the cannon hit the whole damn game. So finally on turn 3 you get a cannon shot to hit. That's just really efficient for the points. So kind of debated over whether the what to do with the Iron Watch rifles, and finally he just decided a front and flank charge on them, as I don't think his shooting would have been reliable enough to actually take them out, because I mean, they have decent armor. It's just not great armor. Over on the right hand side, he managed to charge one of his units into my unit of mastiffs. I'd moved up and shot, with there, and I rolled like 1 wound, which was pathetic. His tree man countercharged back into my unit of shield breakers, and of course the shamblers countercharged back into my unit of earth elementals. So yeah, the tree man did finish off my unit of shield breakers. I mean, guy is super powerful, but on the other hand, he is very expensive, so it kind of makes up for it. The forest, I'm sorry, Hunters of the Wild killed off my unit of mastiffs over there on the flank as well. Of course, the Iron Watch rifles were destroyed by the combined charge on them from his cavalry and his other units of Hunters of the Wild. So it was not looking good for the home team at this point. So my lord did a nimble charge into the flank of his unit of forest shamblers, destroyed them. That allowed the earth elementals to turn toward the other unit of Hunters of the Wild. Not remembering sanguinary scripture was just bad, because the guy was up to 8 wounds, and that's where it starts to get dicey, even with a unit like that. Like I say, you can see over here on the other flank, the Hunters of the Wild, I kind of discounted what they could do, because like I said, I don't really respect their ability to do damage. I respect their ability to hit a lot, but not that. So it was kind of a thing where I'd rather just take the tree man in the front than take those guys in the flank, and just risk it and see what I could do with that, because I was in a good position with my rangers to be able to charge into the flank of the tree man if he did come into on my next turn. So that's how it ended up on this end of the table. The other end basically was nothing. What I did was I moved up the Packmaster and shot those stupid cavalry off the table. And that made me happy. So now I'm kind of in a controlled spot, but I need to hold or gain this objective on the right hand side to at least get a draw, because there was no way with the way Craig had placed his objectives on the other side that I was going to get to any of them. Dwarfs just aren't fast enough to do it. So I mean, I'm going to have to buckle down and buy some cavalry units to go do that, or take some allies with fast cavs. So anyway, okay, so the big tree did slam into my unit of ironclad and did suitably horrible damage. I mean, their armor is decent, but it's nothing against a tree man. So they were held in place, but this was going to allow my ranger unit to charge him in the flank on the next turn, and we can see how that goes. Again, I mean, I'm in a bad spot just because I can't get to that other objective, and even if I kill the tree man, I'm not going to get to the other objective. So the best I can do is probably try to hold this one against the Hunters of the Wild there. Alright, this entire game Craig rolled really, really well on his morale test and managed to get rid of the earth elementals, and now he has that objective in the middle, and he has unit strength 3. So the only way that I'm going to be able to get it is to destroy that unit of Hunters of the Wild, and that's what I'm going to try to do on my next turn. Alright, so you can see here that my unit of Rangers is in the flank of his giant tree man, and so I'm going to charge in there and try to finish him off. I moved the ASB over that had the loot, and I think I moved the Stone Priest over as well to try to get into Bane Chant range. And I guess I forgot something on those stupid ironclads. I had the Hammer of Measured Force on them, which should have just eat that tree man up, wounding on 4s. And I tried to Bane Chant them. So I mean, it must have just been. I mean, it's the first time I played the army, and I made a mistake. I'm just going to say it. I mean, I should have had a good round without really even needing the support of the Rangers so much. But anyway, that's what happened, and of course I didn't roll it, but anyway, we charged in to try to kill the tree man. So the tree man does die to a combined charge, and all I get out of that is get flank charged by that unit of Hunters of the Wild in his turn. So I mean, you see I'm up to 13 wounds, and that is not good. But I still have the objective with enough unit strength right at this point anyway. So I did shrug off the attack and was able to turn, and I don't know why I couldn't countercharge. I think maybe I forgot about Headstrong, or I blew the roll. That's all I could figure that happened. So I did turn to face him eventually, and he really didn't do a lot of wounds. Like I said, they don't really do a lot of wounds. They do a lot of hits, and thank goodness there's no Bane Chanter around to help spring them up, or they would have just sliced right through my guys with so many hitting on 3s. So Anyway, like I said, I blew the headstrong roll or I forgot that I had headstrong, because it's kind of confusing, because like the free dwarf guys don't have headstrong, and the dwarf guys that are in the same army, excuse me, do have headstrong. So I guess it's, like I said, it's the first time I played the army. It's already made 2 mistakes with that unit, so we'll just have to see how it goes the next game. So you can see I did with my shooting manage to get rid of the Hunters of the Wild unit. I really screwed up here because the Lord was too far away from that objective, so the only way I was going to get it was on a turn 7. And that was just another dumb mistake this game. And I'm not even drinking. See the drink in the corner of his? See, I'm just drinking Diet Pepsi. But, I've totally screwed up. Usually when I do something like this, it's because I may have had too many malted beverages while I'm playing. But I was being good tonight. So anyway, you can see I do have a good chance of getting the middle objective now, as long as there is a turn 7. So over here on the right, his Hunters of the Wild did charge in and finally get rid of my guys, despite the ASB standing there to help him. All I could do really was turn the Rangers toward him, because I knew he wasn't going to charge off that other objective and lose the game. So that was or at least drew the game by screwing up. His 2 characters managed to beat on my poor Iron Priest, but he just kind of ignored him, even though he took 5 points of damage. He just stalwarted all the way to the end of the game. Alright, so there was a turn 7, and his stupid archers on turn 6 managed 5 wounds. This is 5 wounds hitting on 6s and wounding on 6s. Rolled boxcars the first roll on the guy. Rolled 11 and it was wavered. But with headstrong, I was able, which I remember this time, was able to move in and secure that objective. So now I have 2 objectives. I have the one on the left in the woods, and I have the one in the middle. I just need to hold one more to at least scrape a draw out. So on the last turn, he did manage to charge his Hunters of the Wild into my Rangers, and they just shirked it off. They didn't care. They're there to protect it. But the problem is he has unit strength 3, and I have unit strength 3. Which means that objective was contested. Neither one of us had a unit strength advantage there. So that left me with 2 objectives and him with the 3 objectives. And that was a solid win for the Sylvan elves. Kin, whatever they are. Okay, for my final thoughts or after action review, just a couple of things I learned from this game. And one is I'm really going to have to pay attention to my army list a little bit more, because there was a couple of significant things that would have kept me in the game, especially the measured force on that unit of Ironclad. That would have been a big advantage against the tree men or against those forest shamblers. That was a big mistake. The other thing is I'm not so sure about the Mastiffs. I mean, everybody else's swarms are 65 points, but they're usually have vicious or nimble or something cool like that. Well, these don't. And then if you want to add the shooting attack, the one-shot shooting attack on them, now between 2 units, you've added 30 more points to it. So you're up to the point where you can get a whole nother unit of something. It might not be a good unit, but it's something that could maybe hold table quarter or do something like that. Because really the Mastiffs in this game were just the delivery system for the throwing Mastiff attack, for me anyway. So those guys might be on the way out. The other thing is Iron Watch rifles are awful. I mean, for the points, oh my God, they're just so pathetic. Hit on 5s, then the guy walking into the swamp now hit on 6s. Just not a good unit at all. I mean, I don't even know why they're in the game. They're that bad. So those units are probably going to go away. I may keep them the next game, because I mean, I probably could have deployed them a little bit better, like over here on the left instead of right there, but I needed something to kind of protect the flank of my elementals, and probably could have done that better with Rangers or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, again, if I would have just had a unit instead of those Mastiffs, that would have been the flank protection. Then I could have put the Iron Watch rifles into a place that's more usable. But like I said, it's the first time I played the army, so I am not so sure about about everything yet, whether it's really good or really bad, or it's just I need to give it another opportunity to work. But I do know one thing is that I'm not probably going to invest any real money. I mean, I did buy the Dwarf Lord on the bear. Well, he's a cool figure, but I'm probably not going to buy any more dwarf figures. I'll just use what I have. I mean, I have a fairly considerable dwarf army from my Warhammer days, and I never played it. I mean, it was for everybody else to borrow. I mean, when you get a new player to come in, because it really didn't take any thought to play them in Warhammer anyway. You just basically sat and shot. In this game, there have to be more mobility, and so they're not near as good in Kings of War, I don't think, as they were in Warhammer. But on the other hand, they have some good fast stuff in Kings of War that they didn't have in Warhammer. So you can actually play the Brocks and Rocks and things like that, or maybe 3 characters on Brocks, or something like that, to give you some little missile troops to go grab objectives, or to spoil shooting, or do things like that. I mean, there's ways to play them, don't get me wrong. I'm just not going to invest the money into making them any better, because I really don't like the army all that much. But it turned out to be a great game. I mean, you saw it. I mean, it came down to the very end, and if I hadn't screwed up on the right hand side over there, probably what I should have done was just got not worried about my dwarf on the beast, and just went ahead and charged the tree man, because then I could have maybe held him off, and so my unit of ironclads over there could have done something to those other and moved up there and take that objective a lot more solidly. And that was a mistake, just a tactical mistake. I thought about it after after the game was over. I thought, that was a missed opportunity, because even if I lost the guy, it wouldn't have been that big a deal, because we're not playing for points. And sacrificed him to give me some time and space would have been a better move, I think, than the alternative. There's a couple things in Craig's army that I really don't like. There's no reason to have a Blade of the Beast Slayer on a dang tree man. I mean, he's already got a crushing 3 in elite, and my God, every fucking special rule in the game. So to have anything on him except maybe Blade of Slashing or something, it's just a waste of points. And the archers, they actually, I didn't like them in the list, but now that I think about it, they get held 2 objectives. They almost killed my Dwarf Lord on turn 7. So maybe I'm kind of underestimating. I mean, I thought maybe that to make the army better, it would be better to drop a couple of those magic items that were superfluous, and go ahead and split that unit of archers and take 2 more units of the cavalry, because they are so damn fast and so lethal, and they shoot really well. So you're not going to catch them to hit, to attack them or anything. So they can just sit back and shoot with impunity the entire game. So I just think that would be a better use. But again, that unit won in the game, even though I was not impressed with them. And so that, heck, they might just need to stay in there. But it's hard to say with a different scenario what it would have done. And I don't know. I mean, the ability of that unit being so big and be able to take 2 objectives at once was solid. That was a good way to do that. And I'll remember that in my next time. But I don't think it's a good idea to put those objectives back there in the very back like that and just sit. And it works out with archers, but for nothing else that I could see that would work for it, because you're basically conceding. You got those 2, but that means there's some more out on the table to go get. And maybe next time too, we'll actually roll the dice and see how many objectives. We made it 3 and 3. I think the game would have changed if it was an odd number, because that would have forced whoever had the least on their side to come forward and fight. But I don't know. I mean, it was a good game all the way around. I would say I've just learned some stuff about the army and some of the things I just hate, and I'll try to figure that out next game and see if I can do a little better next time. This battle report was sponsored by Dunlap Games, www.dunlapgames.net, the source for all of your Mantic Kings of War models.